So we were looking at this sum and we saw a lot of GST changes, a lot of changes which were brought by GST when other taxes were subsumed, state tax, sales tax, service tax, etc. So now what we do here is, see this, I would like to draw everyone's attention to the fact that this is, this figure is wrong. It was made, it is a simple calculation error. This will come around 17,000 something, but still it will increase your cost drastically. 141 plus 17 would also go to 158 or something like that. Okay, yes or no? Now let us begin. What we say? Now this is hanged, so I will. Now I'll tell you the details about GST. What are the significant aspects about GST, and what are the what were the constitutional changes which were made. So to bring in a huge subject like GST, or to bringing in a huge overhaul like GST, constitutional amendment had to be made. So it was made by 101 Constitutional Amendment Act 2016. Okay, it was made by 101st Constitutional Amendment Act 2016. Lot of things were changed. Lot of things were changed. You will read in your Lakshmikant latest changes which were made. The most important change which we need to concern ourselves is with article, new article, Article 279A. Sir, what is Article 279A? Article 279A speaks about GST Council. Okay, Article 279 speaks about GST Council. GST Council is nothing but a group of people who come together and then they decide ki what GST rates to set and how to manage GST and everything. So let me give you a brief history of GST now. What happened is, do you notice that in GST states are giving up their power of charging sales tax? Yes or no? Do you notice that center is giving up its power of charging service tax? Yes or no? Do you notice central government is also giving up its power of charging central excise duty? Okay, state excise on some parts is given up, on some things it is remaining. I will tell you what is it. Okay, so there was a huge tussle between these things. And did you notice that when was the final tax charged? When was the tax taken by the consumer? When the final sale is made. Rest everything credit is given. Yes or no? So finally, what do you think? Which state gets the maximum tax? For example, if manufacturer has given to the reseller in MP and that reseller has or dealer has went to UP and sold the phone to the customer, what do you think? Which government will get the final tax? UP government. Yes or no? So GST is a destination based tax. You have to write this. You have to write that GST is a destination based tax. Yes or no? Do you understand what I am saying? GST is a destination based tax. It is destination based. GST is a destination based tax. What do we mean by destination based? Wherever the final consumption is happening, their tax is getting collected. Now come to the earlier regime. Try to imagine the earlier regime. What was there in the earlier regime? That where was central excise collected? Can you tell me where was central excise collected? In MP, right? Central government was standing where the factory is standing, where the factory is made or the goods are made. Okay, so now everything is collected here at the end. So GST is a destination based tax. Now imagine who will oppose GST. What do you think? Who will oppose GST? Manufacturing states will oppose GST or consuming states will oppose GST? What do you think? Manufacturing states will oppose GST. States like Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, these three states were most, they were opposing GST to a very extreme extent. We will not assent for GST. Always remember to bring in constitutional amendment which affects the rights of both center and states. States majority is also required. Okay, so when you do constitutional amendment chapter in your polity, you will know the matters which concern only center, their states majority is not required. But here states had to vote. States had to give their majority. Okay. So, but these major states were opposing them. Now I am coming to a very important concept. These states were opposing. Then center, so these states said that we will lose our revenue. Yes or no? See, you will give credit and everything. See, center is going to compensate them. Everything is going to be fine. The one key positive side which was told to Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat and other states was that if you are losing revenue, we agree. But if goods become cheaper, you are only be able to produce more goods. Yes or no? If tomorrow phone becomes from 1,41,000 to 1,40,000, see, you feel it is a difference of 1,000, but just imagine crores of things are purchased every day. So daily it is crores of rupees worth of difference. So if phones, let's say phones become cheap, people will demand more phones in consuming states. Who is producing? Producer states. So producer states will have more incentive. So that was one incentive which was given. If prices are reduced, then you will have to produce more. Now, very important thing I want you to pay attention here is that states gave presentations to center. Center asked states ki how much you will lose revenue. We agree you will lose revenue, but how much revenue you will lose? You tell us. So let's say Maharashtra government has said ki GST was enacted in 2016 with effect from 2017. So let's say Maharashtra government has given a past 5 years record of tax collection. Which tax collection are we talking about? State excise and sales tax, whatever is collected by state government. 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, done. Barabar na? 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. These were the figures which are given by Maharashtra government. So Maharashtra government said ki in 2012 my tax collection was 100 crore. In 2013 my tax collection is 105 crores. See, it will keep on increasing normally because industries keep on increasing, people keep on starting businesses. Here it was, let's say 108 crores. Here it was, let's say 115 crores. Here it was, let's say 125 crores. Yes or no? Okay. Similar projections are given by all the states. Ki how much revenue would they lose if GST comes into effect? Done. Central government, and they discussed everything. Central government on one side, state government on one side. They said ki we are also giving up service tax. They say we are giving up excise, everything. They fought. Ek dusre gala dabaya, you know, and they threw chairs on each other. Everything they did. Finally, central government said ki fine. What we'll do is, one is that this fighting is not good. So we will have a separate council called as GST council. You send your representatives. We'll send our representatives. We'll discuss. Right? Done. So that is why GST Council came into existence, Article 279A. Second most important part I am going to tell you here is that very important concept I am going to tell you here is that suppose Maharashtra government has said that year on year my tax increases at 12%, suppose. So which means last year if I earned 100 crores, this year I will earn 112 crores because I told tax normally keeps on increasing. Tamil Nadu said year on year I lose 17% or I grow 17%. Some other states gave some other figures. So what center decided is that that whatever will be the tax collection, whatever will be the total tax collection, center said whatever will be the total tax collection, I will compensate the states. GST compensation would be given. Who will compensate? Center. To whom compensation will be given? States. Okay. How much compensation is to be given? That is the question, is it not? How much compensation is to be given? So they said ki you submit your last 5 years ka collection. See, Maharashtra is collecting a lot of tax, but Goa hardly any tax it will collect because there is hardly any manufacturing industry in Goa. Yes or no? So they asked from all the states, they asked collections. So Maharashtra gave this projection. Okay. So they said whatever is your projection, whatever is your state ka projection, year onwards we will assume ki it will grow on an average at the rate of 14%. Which means whatever is your shortfall as per your prediction, whatever is your shortfall up to the extent of 14% we will compensate. Okay? We will compensate 14%. We will assume that your taxes are growing at 14%, 14%. Maharashtra government said our taxes grow at 20%. Center said ki now dekho, average 14% we have taken. So every state will receive 14% as compensation from center for losing out their taxes under the old regime, because under the old regime we know tax was more. So states were covering more taxes. Okay? They asked how much will you lose? Pay attention. They asked how much will you lose? Maharashtra government said 10,000 crores will lose. They asked Tamil Nadu how much you will lose? They said 12,000 crores will lose. Average liya gaya. They took an average and they said ki if we compensate you at 14%, you will neither gain anything nor lose anything compared to old regime. We will compensate the shortfall so that you neither gain more than compared to old regime nor lose anything. So this 14%, very important. You neither gain or not lose. So you are a state, you are Maharashtra, let's say you are MP or any other state. By adopting the new tax regime, by assenting to constitutional changes and bringing in GST, you are neither losing revenue nor gaining revenue. Samjha? Which means your growth will continue, and that all calculations were made, every detailed calculation was made, and they decided that 14% should be compensated to the states. This 14% is called as, very important, revenue neutral rate. It is known as RNR. Very, 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 very important. RNR, revenue neutral rate. %14% is the revenue neutral rate. What is 14%? 14% is the amount of compensation which will be given to states so that they do not lose on their tax revenue when they shift to new tax revenue. Sir, kab tak milega? Till when this 14% will be given? This 14% will be given for 5 years from implementation. When was it implemented? Sir, 2017. When do 5 years end? 2022. What happens after that? That GST Council will decide. That GST Council will decide. Okay? For 5 years, from 2017 to 2022, states are assured of a 14% revenue or 14% share of taxes. Now, where do you think center will get this money? Where do you think center will get this money from? This is very interesting. Where do you think central will get this money from? So, they deliberated in the GST Council, where do we get this money from? Where do we get this money from? So, what they said is that let us tax luxury goods more. So, GST is there on every goods, on almost all goods and services, GST is there. Let us tax luxury goods more and take this cess. So, cess, you remember cess? What is cess? For a specific purpose. So, this is known as GST compensation cess. Do you understand the term cess now? This cess will only be collected for a limited amount of time, for a limited amount or for limited purposes. Sole purpose would be to compensate the states for the loss of revenue, and this will be known as GST compensation cess. Sir, on which goods the cess will be taken? The cess will be taken on luxury goods, sin goods, demerit goods, etc. Samjha? This is called revenue neutral rate. Okay? So, if you see the question in 2020, question came on what was the controversy about GST compensation to states? Yes or no? So, what happened was that central government was unable to release major installments of compensation to states. Central government was unable to release big amounts of compensation which was due to states. Why? Because central government was using that money for COVID relief. Yes or no? States said, we also need money for COVID relief, sir. You are using, very good. We are also in need of money. So then states protested against GST, that GST dues are not sent by central government. Okay? GST dues are paid every 2 months or every 1.5 months to 2 months. GST dues are paid by the central government to the state government. Okay? But central government was not able to repay them or not able to pay this compensation, this RNR, and hence state governments had protested. So that was the whole issue. Then central government gave some options to the states that you borrow money, we will pay the interest. You borrow money, we will pay the interest. But or else, so I will tell you, 2.93 lakh crore was the total due to states. How much? 2.93 lakh crores. Usme se 97 lakh crores center said, my mistake. It is on account of GST shortfall. My mistake. We did not collect cess properly, and the remaining amount was due to act of God. Have you seen Oh My God movie? Act of God, which means COVID and everything. So this is an act of God, and in the world many laws don't apply when act of God happens. You know, they have a exception to every law. So in insurance, for example, act of God and all, right? So they said that 97 is our fault because we did not collect GST enough, but baki ka is act of God. So if you want 97, you borrow, I will pay the interest. Center is saying to states, if you want, you can borrow full, but I will not pay the interest. So states went with the first option. They got less money, but interest payment is taken care of by the center. Now, how will center pay iska interest which is borrowed by states? Compensation cess to dena hi hai. Compensation cess is supposed to be given. States have also borrowed the GST shortfall, and interest is now given by the government on those states. How will center give those get money to pay this interest, right? So then in GST Council there are talks now ki this 2022 5 years ka timeline would have to be extended by more 5 years. So more 5 years you will have to collect extra cess to pay this interest, to pay remaining compensation cess, and to give RNR at 4%. Okay? So there are talks going on to extend this 5 years. So this was supposed to end in 2022. Now if it is extended by more 5 years, it will go to 2027. Do you agree with this? Do you understand the GST compensation cess issue? Okay? I am going in a reverse manner. Instead of telling you each and every bit of GST, I am telling the main concepts and then we'll cover masala, आजू बाजू का masala. ठीक है? GST compensation cess, revenue neutral rate, 5 years. ठीक है? Now coming to GST Council. What about GST Council? Who do you think is the head of GST Council? Who do you think is the head of GST Council? Who chairs GST Council? Finance Minister will chair GST Council. So it is nothing but a council of center representatives and state representatives. How many members from center do you think and how many members from state do you think will come here? So currently this keeps on changing. Currently there are 33 members in the GST Council. Okay? 33 members. Out of that, how much from the center, how much from the states? States have sent 31 members and center has 2 members. So Finance Secretary, Economic Affairs Secretary normally, and the center has said 2 members. So GST Council, if you ask me the composition of GST Council may there are 33 members, state has 31 members and center has 2 members in the GST Council. Now they will vote, yes or no? They will vote. Pay attention. Central government has voting power of 1/3. State government has voting power of 2/3. See, it is possible that states are also not united. States are also opposed to each other. Central government has voting power of 1/3. State government has voting power of 2/3. Decisions are taken or decisions are considered to be passed. You know, decision is passed when there is a 3/4 majority. When there is a 3/4 majority, not half majority, ki only 51% of the members agree, to pass karo. 75% should agree, 3/4 majority. And do you know what is the meaning of quorum? Quorum. Quorum. Quorum means nothing but attendance. So, if let's say out of these 33 members, only 10 people come, suppose only 10 people come, do you think business can start? Do you think discussions can start? Depends. How much is the minimum attendance required? So, minimum attendance required for business to start is half. So, out of 33 people, if 16.5 people come at least, then business can start. Out of that, those who have come from states will have 2/3 weightage. Those who have come from center will have 1/3 weightage. And then decisions will be passed only when it is passed by 3/4 majority. So, if 21 people are transacting, 21 का 3/4 कितना होता है? जितना भी होता है, 21, 22 का 3/4, then only those many votes are there, then only decisions can be considered as passed. Yes or no? Samjha? This is very important. This is very important. Okay, quorum is half, voting is by 3/4 majority, state government has 2/3 share, central government has 1/3 share. Very simple, very straightforward, very good. Okay, 33 members, center has 2 members, state has 31 members. Okay, yes, no. Do you know how much GST you pay on anything you buy? Can you guess? Have you seen any GST? Have you seen any bill or anything which you think has GST in it? कितना लगता है, क्या है उसमें? What do you think is GST rate? How much GST do you pay? So if you ask anyone, anyone would say that there are 4 rates of GST in the country. I would say wrong. There are 5 rates of GST in the country. So one is 5%, 12%, 18%, 28%. Now you only tell me, where would cess be levied on GST to give GST compensation? I told you GST compensation cess is levied on sin goods. Which of the goods do you think would be levied a cess? 28%. These are the goods which are taxed in the highest manner. These are the goods which are taxed at the highest rate. Yes or no? So these are all demerit goods. These are all goods which are luxurious goods. You know, high-end cars, imported cars. Then you have your cigarettes and all of those things. Those are luxury goods. Alcohol. They are taxed at 28%. Which goods do you think are taxed at 5%? Necessities, basics. Yes or no? Okay, they are taxed at 5%. Which goods do you think are taxed at 12 and 18%? Depend. Medium goods, those who are goods by those goods which are used by middle class families and all. Okay, so if you go to a restaurant, you will be charged 12% GST. But if you go to a high-end restaurant, you will be charged 18% GST. Okay, just imagine categorizing this into these many rates is very difficult. I'll tell you why. Parle-G biscuit is taxed at 5% GST, but cream biscuit is taxed at 12% GST. Because cream biscuit is considered a little bit luxury compared to your basic biscuit. Yes or no? So when GST was being introduced, there used to be so many newspaper articles and so many debates in the parliament about how to categorize them. Just imagine the work in the finance ministry going on. How would you consider something as luxury or something as not luxury? Now, a steel glass, is it a luxury or not luxury? Then glass ka pani, like glass, is it a luxury or not? It might not be a luxury. So how to categorize? So much of thinking has gone into these things. Now, you know, this GST, our GST structure is also criticized by various people in the world. I told you the tagline of GST is one nation, one tax, one rate. Where is one rate? There is no one rate. So when it was brought in, when it was advertised that we are bringing in GST, when government advertised it, they said that one nation, one tax, one rate. But in reality, it is not one rate, it is multiple rate. Yes or no? So this is very difficult to administer also. Something falls in 28%, something. I told you, if you go to hotel, 12%. If you go to a high-end hotel, to 18%. Uske bhi upar high-end है 28%. It doesn't make any sense. And cess is levied on this. Compensation cess is levied on this extra. So extra, if you are smoking cigarettes or if you indulge in some negative externalities which are taxed under the highest bracket, then you will have to pay cess. ठीक है, समझा? So far so good. Now I told you कि there is a fifth rate also. Do not think these goods are exempt. These goods are taxed at 0%. Sir, that means the same thing as exempt. No, that doesn't mean the same thing as exempt. Exempt means that those goods are not charged with GST at all. The goods which fall under 0% are charged with 0% GST, which means tomorrow if government feels they have become a luxury, they can shift those goods to 12% bracket or 5% bracket. It is not that these goods are not charged GST or are outside the purview of GST. They are within the purview of GST, but they are made to stand in a corner. They are inside the room of GST, but in the corner. Currently it is 0%. So there are 5 rates actually. Currently it is 0%, but tomorrow you might go to 5%, you might go to 12, you might go to 18. There are some goods on which GST is not applicable at all. They don't fall in any of the brackets. GST is not applicable. I told you services pay, there was no tax before 93-94. Yes or no? Similarly, there are some goods on which GST is not applicable at all. GST is not applicable at all. Sir, what are those goods? Please tell us. One of them, very first of them is petroleum products. GST is not applicable on petroleum products. Do you know petrol prices are rising these days? 100 के ऊपर Even diesel cost has reached more than 100 in Sri Gangapur or Ganganagar in Rajasthan. Okay, I'll tell you how petroleum pricing works. See, on petrol, do we produce petrol or do we import petrol? We import. We import a lot of petrol. What tax do you think would be levied when we import petrol? Customs. Remember customs? Who will collect it? Central government will collect. Customs are under the purview of central government. Central government will import them. Central government will send them to the states for refineries and all. Imagine you are in a remote area very far away from all these storage of production. Wahan pe bhi petrol pump is there. Do you think transport cost will be higher or lower? It will be very high. That increases the prices. One. Secondly, who sells petrol in the state? Selling of petrol is happening in the state, yes or no? Will state collect VAT on it or sales tax on it? Yes. State still collects VAT on it or sales tax on it on petroleum products. Why does state collect? Because it is not under GST. Kuch to lagana padega, something would be there. So these products you can say they are still living in the old era. Petroleum products. There are 5 products. It comprises of 5 products. So crude oil, diesel, aviation turbine fuel, all of these. There are 5 products. Okay? Example, crude oil, diesel, aviation turbine fuel. So all 5 variants of petroleum products. Okay? Now why do you think petroleum products are not under GST? Tell me, why do you think petroleum products are not under GST? Imagine GST council pe discussion is going on. Center is asking states, please give up your power to tax services. States are saying you also give up your power to this thing. Center says custom is my birthright. I will not share customs with you. Customs. State said then petroleum products give me more revenue. This is my birthright. I will not share petroleum products revenue with you. So they both agreed to disagree and petroleum products was kept outside GST. So center earns customs on petroleum products. States earn VAT. States also earn state excise on petroleum products. If they are refining the petrol within the state, then it is like a production only, right? They take crude oil, they produce fine petrol. State excise is also levied. Transport charges are also levied on petrol. Lot of taxes are collected by center as well as states, and that is why petroleum prices are very high. So petroleum prices, if we import oil, that oil price is not very high now. Currently that oil price is in fact low. It is called crude oil price. Okay? There are various variations of crude oils which are found. So what we use is Brent crude, B-R-E-N-T. What we use is Brent crude, B-R-E-N-T. This is a variety of crude oil which we use and which we refine and we convert it to petroleum, diesel, aviation fuel according to the requirement, and then we sell it to the petrol pumps and oil manufacturing companies and petrol supply companies, all of those things. So Brent crude oil, chalo, tell me very easily, if Brent crude oil is measured per barrel, barrel, you know barrel, one dabba you can say, one round dabba, that is barrel. So per barrel, if I tell you ki crude oil price yesterday was $59, today crude oil price is $60. Will the petrol price in India increase or decrease? It will increase because your raw material price is increasing. What has happened is crude oil price has reduced but petrol prices have increased. What do you think is the reason? Tell me. Crude oil prices have reduced but petroleum prices have increased. What do you think is the reason? Beach mein so much of taxes are collected by central and state governments together. Your crude oil price $60. Big chunk is collected by central and state government, X, Y, Y. Total price comes to, this is $60, huh? Total price comes to, let's say, 10,000 rupees. Per barrel, we are talking about per barrel. So per liter, so you know what, if you remove all central and state taxes, today per liter price of petrol would be somewhere around 40s and diesel price would be 34 or something. And we are paying 90 rupees. Just imagine the magnitude of taxes collected by central and state government. Sir, why are they collecting so many taxes? Vikas, development, yes or no? Revenue receipt, taxation, fiscal deficit reducing. Who is feeling the pinch ultimately? Who do you think feels the pinch of this? Consumer. Right? Have you seen movie Nayak? In that Paresh Rawal says, मिडिल क्लास आदमी ही घुट के मर जाता है, और समथिंग लाइक दैट. Everything is felt by consumer. But see, we are reading macroeconomics, we are reading economics of India, we are going to become officers. So now don't think from a person who is a consumer, think from government's angle. Why this is necessary? Now this money is used for COVID welfare, yes or no? Samjha? So this is also a redistribution method. For those who have vehicles, take more money from them and use it for those who are suffering in hospitals and who have tested positive. But here the problem comes where even poor people have vehicles, poor farmers, tractors and all, right? So they also have to pay higher prices, which in turn increases the prices of food grains, which in turn increases the prices of food available with the government, and then inflation happens. So this is very tricky. Do you understand how complicated, convoluted and tricky this is? One action has 100 opposite reactions, some positive, some negative. So it is always a balance, or it is always a choice between the lesser devils. Okay? Both are devil, both are bad decisions, but lesser bad decision you have to take. Okay? Both your friends are useless, but lesser useless friend you have to ask for help. Simple. Okay? Economics is not as simple logic between demand supply, simple relation is as it seems. There are hundreds and hundreds of permutation combinations of results which can happen due to your one action. So that is why policymakers are always frustrated in economy, because they don't know how it is to be done. They don't know what to do. And see, after all, even if you do this with good intention, do you realize that outcome may be bad? People might come on road and protest. Inefficiency can also be crept here. In government also, corruption and inefficiency can come here. Okay? So there are so many things. So we have 5 rates of GST: 0, 5, 12, 18, 28. Do you notice I have clubbed this in one circle? Why I have clubbed this in one circle? Because 15th Finance Commission, we have not discussed Finance Commission yet. 15th Finance Commission has recommended clubbing of these two rates. It said 12-18% distinction is useless. Club these two rates and bring somewhere in 14-15%. 15th Finance Commission has said this is very what we say, complicated. Don't do so much of rates. Club these. Have one rate here for middle class goods. Have one rate here for necessities. Have one rate here for sin goods. Now, what kind of goods do you think are in 0%? Okay, are 0% goods charge GST? Yes, they pay 0% GST. Think economically. Don't think ultimately money is not going, but think economically. They are charged 0% GST. Be neutral to the number. Bhale 0 ho, 100 ho. They are charged 0% GST. So those who are selling those goods or providing those services which are covered under 0% tax bracket, those goods, though they have to pay 0 rupees as GST, but they have to pay 0 rupees as GST. See, the fact is they have to pay. Petroleum products don't have to pay GST because they are already under other regimes. Samjha? What is the second good which is not covered in GST? What is the second good which is not covered in GST? One is petroleum products, which is fine. What is the bare necessity of life according to some people? According to some people, what is the bare necessity of life? See this? According to some people, bare necessity. Alcohol for human consumption, bare necessity of life as per some people. This is not under GST. Why? This is not under GST. Why? Do we import alcohol or do we make alcohol in India? We make a lot of alcohol in India. Even foreign brands we make in India, most of them. Right? There are some luxury brands which we import, no doubt about them. And notice I have written alcohol for human consumption. Is there any other kind of alcohol? Yes. Ethyl alcohol, methyl alcohol, so much of uses are there for alcohol, cleaning, surgery, medical, so many uses. But we are talking about alcohol for human consumption. ठीक है? कि जो पी के people will go in sky temporarily, not permanently. ठीक है? Why do you think? Chalo, very quickly. Why do you think alcohol is kept out of GST? See, always think that in GST, always apply your logic that GST is nothing but a compromise between center and states. Alcohol, if it is kept out of GST, which means someone did not want to compromise alcohol, someone did not want to exchange the trading powers, the taxing powers. Now tell me, what do you think? What do you think is alcohol? Why do you think is alcohol not a part of GST? The single most or the major or the highest source of revenue for state governments was state excise on alcohol. Did you know this? No. The major source of revenue for state government is state excise on alcohol. So states will never give up, at least as of now, states will not give up alcohol for human consumption. They will not give up the power to tax alcohol. See, if it is subsumed under GST, then central will also take half, state will also get half. Yes or no? So alcohol for human consumption, state said we will not give up alcohol for human consumption. It is our sole right. It is our birthright to tax alcohol for human consumption. It is state excise which is taxed on alcohol for human consumption. And of course, state excise ke sath sath sales tax would also be there on alcohol for human consumption. Okay, actually it is not sales tax, it is VAT, value added tax. The latest version, I told you, sales tax and VAT are very similar. So the latest version which is remaining after GST coming in is VAT, value added tax. So VAT is there on alcohol, state excise is there on alcohol, GST is not there on alcohol. What do you think is the third one? What do you think is the third one? No GST. See, when I say no GST, it doesn't mean no taxes. Old regime or other taxes, other special taxes, no GST. Why? Again, why no GST on electricity? A lot of electricity is generated by the states and supplied by the states. States are the sole authority. So someone called as a DISCOM, distribution company, DISCOM, electricity distribution company. Okay? So when we do energy sector, we'll learn about this. There are primarily three people involved in supplying electricity. One who is producing the electricity, one who is distributing the electricity, one who is actually transmitting electricity to your home. So you say I get electricity of Tata Power or Reliance or any government authority, okay? But it is just a transmitting authority. Behind transmitting authority, you have DISCOM. Behind DISCOM, so DISCOM is a wholesaler of electricity. It sells to the retailers and then retailers supply to your home. And this guy, who is the manufacturer of electricity? Who do you think is the manufacturer of electricity? Power plants, thermal power plants. They generate power, na? Electricity they generate. Nuclear power plants. So they purchase from power plants, they take it and then they supply to retailers and retailers supply to our homes. Okay? So most of these DISCOMs are state owned, which means they have the power to charge state excise on electricity produced and to charge VAT or any other type of sales tax on electricity supplied. Fourth, petroleum products, alcohol for human consumption, electricity, done. What about fourth? Real estate. Why? VAT is charged by states. So, isme there are two parts. One is you buy home when it is under construction. You invest in your home when it is under construction. Hota hai na aisa, you will get possession after 2 years, you will get possession after 3 years. You buy a home which is already under construction. Builder has told you, I will give you the keys to your home after 2 years when it is completed, when fitting and all is done. Okay? So real estate under construction and real estate after construction, which means this is a sale, yes or no? Sale of ready flats. Already ready hai, you just pay the amount and move in. अंडर कंस्ट्रक्शन पे जीएसटी इज एप्लीकेबल, रेडी सेल फ्लैट्स पे जीएसटी इज नॉट एप्लीकेबल. व्हाई? रेडी सेल फ्लैट्स पे वैट इज चार्ज बाय द स्टेट्स. समझा? These four categories of goods are not covered under GST. They do not come under GST. Primary reason being neither center nor states wanted to give up their special powers, their main sources of revenue, and hence this is a bargain actually. These four things are bargain because then only states agreed to amend the constitution and gave the majority and go ahead to amend the constitution and bring in GST. If center had not left these goods with the states, then states wouldn't have agreed and GST would not be a reality today. Do you know discussion on GST started in 2003? We have implemented in 2016. Discussions on GST started in 2003. It is not an idea which is very new, which is very fresh. It is not something the government came into power in 2014 and implemented it in 2 years. Yes, the credit of the government is that it took things way forward. It implemented GST at a very rapid pace, and credit to that. There was a lot of inaction before 2014, 2003 से 2012-13 तक there was a lot of inaction. But conceptually, the decisions were happening since 2003, and then finally we saw GST coming to birth in 2017. ये समझा? ठीक है? One key thing might confuse you in your MCQs. Exports are not subject to GST. So if you are selling in India, you have to charge GST. If you are selling outside India, you don't have to charge GST. Now why exports are not subject to GST? Reason simple hai, you want to encourage your exports. Remember C plus I plus D plus X minus M. You want to increase your X. What does your X give you? It gives you a lot of foreign currency. It gives you a lot of money outside, because when you export, what happens is you get payment in dollars. So you get payment, and this is usually at a higher amount. That is why to encourage exports, GST is not charged on exports. Is GST charged on imports? No, GST is not charged on imports because customs is charged on imports. Always remember, customs is not subsumed under GST. Customs is not subsumed under GST. In the previous chart which we did, we saw a lot of taxes which were subsumed. So excise duty was subsumed barring a few things. Sales tax was subsumed, VAT was subsumed barring these four things. And but customs was not subsumed. Customs is still a separate tax, which is tax on import and import of goods and services. So if you buy, let's say if you call Microsoft Tech Support, if you call and the call gets connected to America and you have to, they solve your problem, they say ki our fees is $10. So that is nothing but you are importing their services. Yes or no? They have given you service, you are making them payment of $10. Ye lo, bhaiya, theek hai, done. Is this clear? 4 goods not a part of GST. Is this clear? Who is the chairperson of GST Council? Finance Minister. How many members in GST Council? 33. 2 members from state or center? Center. 31 from state. How much quorum is required? Half. How much is state government's vote share? 2/3. How much is central government's vote share? 1/3. How much majority is required? 3/4 for taking key decisions. Yes or no? How many rates do we have? We have 5 rates. Okay, we have 5 rates. Exports on which no GST is charged. Exports on which no GST is charged is also known as zero rated supply. Because no GST is charged, it is also called as zero rated supply. Zero rated supply. Okay? Now tell me the difference between nil rate goods and exempt goods. You already know the difference. What is the difference between nil rated goods and exempt goods? Nil rated are in the purview of GST, but for the time being their rate is 0%. But exempt goods are outside GST, they are not even subject to the rate system. Which goods do you think will fall under 0% tax bracket? What do you think will fall under 0% tax bracket? Milk, eggs, everything which is very essential to survival. Milk is the best example. There is no GST on milk. There is GST on milk, sorry, there is GST on milk but 0%. There is GST on milk but 0% GST on milk. So tomorrow if fancy milk comes which gives you superhuman powers, or if it makes you Superman, then they will charge it at 12-18%. I am sure about it. Okay? What is next? Who will do the work of collecting taxes? Who will do the work of assessing the taxpayers? Who will do the work of checking? So when GST was merged, earlier if I ask you who would be the taxing authority of service tax, you would say central government. Who would be the taxing authority of sales tax? You would say state governments. Okay? So when GST was brought in, I told you a lot of constitutional amendments were brought in. Okay? We passed a lot of laws. So earlier there was no Service Tax Act, but earlier there was Sales Tax Act, and all of these acts were there. They were all repealed. And new acts were made. Which were the new acts made? Very easy now. Now that we know the concept, things have become very easy. So we made an act called as Central Goods and Services Tax Act. Okay? So what is central, what is state, I will tell. Then we made an act, State Goods and Services Tax Act. Then we made an act, Integrated Goods and Services Tax Act. Sir, what is this? I will tell. Then we made an act, UT Goods and Services Tax Act. Union Territories Goods and this is similar, state and UT. Then we made an act. Do you know fifth act? Tell me, do you know fifth act or not? Do you know this act? Do you know the concept of compensation to states? We spoke about it. We spoke about revenue neutral rate. We spoke about 14% compensation has to be given. How compensation has to be given? Sir, by charging cess on 28% goods, we will give compensation. Now talks are on to extend that further period of 5 years by 5 years more. 70 to 22 is the 5-year period, plus 22 to 27 would be the next 5 years period. So this act we understood, sir. Sir, what about this act? Right? So this act governs the center's share of GST. This act governs center's share of GST. This act governs state share of GST. This act governs state's share of GST. So state's machinery who is involved in implementing GST. State share of GST, central share of GST. What about this act? This is also similar to state, union territory hai. What about this act? Interstate sale jab hota hai, whenever interstate sale happens, sale from one state to another state, then who do you think has the power to collect tax in interstate sale? From MP to UP, who has the power to collect taxes? It will go to UP, it has to go to UP, but who will collect the taxes? It is center who will collect. It will say MP, UP, two states will fight, I will collect. Integrated GST. What will center do? Center will collect tax in interstate sale and then it will distribute to UP. Ki this is your share, take it. Okay? So that you don't fight. Sale within the state, state share. Sale within the state also there is center who is collecting, state who is collecting. So within the state, these two come. Interstate sale, IGST comes. Okay? Now always remember this thing, always remember that if some good is, let's say, taxed at 18%, we saw the slabs, na? 0, 12, 18, 28, 0, 5, 12, 18, 28. If some goods are taxed at 18%, it means 9% will go to the center and 9% will go to the state. It means Integrated GST rate would be 18%, and then उसमें से divide होके CGST would take 9%, SGST would take 9%. Just order anything, see any bill, you will come to know what I'm talking about. See any bill. When you go out, when you order something, you buy something, if you get a bill, see on it what GST they have levied. If it is an interstate sale or interstate supply of goods and services, it will be IGST. Otherwise, it will be CGST and SGST. But CGST plus SGST always equal IGST. Always remember this. Okay? I'm not getting into the detail that how the calculations are made, how credit is given, input tax credit is given. I'm not going to tell all that because that is not required. I wasted a lot of time reading about it when I was doing my first attempt. So, and also because of my background, I went too deep into it, but that is not required for UPSC examination. Do you understand this? IGST is used for, you only have to remember IGST is used for, you only have to remember this. Interstate supply of goods and services. Interstate, which means more than, which means 2 or more states. Interstates, but this IGST would also automatically be, when, see, what happens is when sale is done from MP to UP, who will collect? Central government, because it is an IGST. How much? 18%. Now this 18% may say 9 it will give to UP, 9 it will keep it itself, 9 it will keep it itself, 9 it will give to UP. Similarly, so all IGST is divided into 2 parts, SGST and CGST. So these 5 acts were brought in along with 101 Constitutional Amendment Act, and then GST was started or GST was brought into place. Okay? Now, most important, do you know who is a taxpayer? When we pay tax, we are taxpayers. Okay? In the eyes of tax laws, we are known as assessees. There is an assessor who will assess our income. Assess means check. Who will check our income. In GST also there is GST return. Like in income tax return, we have GST return. Ki sir, in this 1 year, who will file GST return? Customer or supplier? Supplier will file GST return because incidence is on him. He is just collecting it from us. Bill mein dal ke in the bill. Yes or no? Supplier will file. McDonald's will file. So he will file a return ki sir, in 1 year I have sold these many burgers, these many fries, etc. I have collected this much GST and I am remitting it to you. This is GST return. Okay? So in the eyes of the law or in the eyes of tax laws, we are known as, or in this case supplier is known as assessee, and the income tax officer or the tax officer, GST tax officer, will be known as assessor. Okay? So assessee is whose income is assessed. Examinee, examiner, simple. Assessee, assessor. When this division happened, states and centers were confused how to divide the workload. You have to assess incomes, yes or no? How to divide workload? For example, in every one sale, there are 2 aspects of it, central and state. Barabar hai? Yes or no? So, half we'll cut the assessee into half and we'll assess? No. So, there had to be a mechanism to share the workload between center and states, to share the assessment between the center and states. So, then this was what was decided upon. Why it was decided upon, what was the logic? That was relevant for 2017 exam. Now it is not relevant so much. Okay? So, see this. States and center. Okay? If always remember, GST or any indirect tax is on sales and revenue and not on income. Why? Because on income you have income tax. McDonald's is selling burger worth 200 rupees. Iska profit is not 200. It will have cost also 80-90 rupees. GST will be applied on which amount? 200 rupees. Yes or no? So always remember, GST is a tax on sales or revenue. Indirect, we are now in indirect tax. We are not in direct tax now. We are in indirect tax regime. It is a tax on sales and revenue. Sales and revenue ka fancy term or accounting term is called as turnover. It is known as turnover. So if those assessees, those taxpayers whose income is less than 1.5 CR per annum. Per annum means per year. 1.5 CR जिसका turnover है 1.5 CR, which means they are small SSEs. 1.5 CR per annum is nothing. They are small SSEs. 90% of those SSEs, 90% of those people will be assessed by states. 10% of those people will be assessed by center. They are just sharing the workload. ठीक है? For those who are earning more than 1.5 CR, which means big people, 50% of those people would be assessed by center, 50% of those people would be assessed by states. And we are talking about the number of people here. So if there are 100 people whose gross income or 100 people whose income per annum is less than 1.5 CR, then out of those 100 people, 90 people's ka assessment would be done by state and 10 people ka assessment would be done by center. But if there are, let's say, 50 people who are earning more than 1.5 CR per annum, then out of that 50, 25 people would go to states and 25 people would go to center. This all happens in the back end. You don't come to know whether you are being assessed by center or you are being assessed by state. Okay? You don't come to know. This all happens in the back end. This all happens in the system. Now please pay attention here. This system where there is a crossing of this, 50 going here, 50 going here, 90 going here, 10 going here. This system is known as cross empowerment. This is an important term. This is known as cross empowerment. Cross empowerment. Samjha? So if I ask you what is cross empowerment, what would you tell? How would you start? What words will you choose? Cross empowerment is the system by which assessees are divided between states and center. Okay? So if there are 200 people coming in, so some people will go to state, some people will go to center. So let's say tomorrow in LevelupIAS, if 10 people come for admission, so one person will not cater to all 10 people. Someone else would be there, someone will speak to me, someone will speak to Santosh sir. So the division, who will speak to whom? If let's say someone is having a commerce background or wants commerce as optional, obviously that person will be sent to me. Yes or no? Similarly, this is this thing. So for bigger people, state said we also want a big share of your big people. So big people 50-50, small people states 90, center 10. Samjha? Understood? Fairly simple, fairly straightforward. No rocket science in this. Is it easy to understand? Really, it is easy to understand, yes or no? What is input tax credit? What is input tax credit? See, when I ask you questions, those you are sitting at home, when I ask you questions, think how you will write this or think how you will explain it to someone. That is one. Secondly, if you really want to be good at concepts, any concept, science, polity, economy, try explaining it to one more person. So let's say you understood cross empowerment. Try explaining it to your sister or father or anyone who is giving UPSC or any friend, any random person. So when you explain, you will realize you will get more clarity when you explain. Okay? That is why teachers try to repeat things because they have a lot of angles to it. Yes or no? So if you want to learn a concept in a very good manner, then what you have to do is that all you have to do is explain one more person. Try to explain it to one more person. Chalo, what is input tax credit? Very quickly, what is input tax credit? Input tax credit is nothing but tax paid on inputs which is given as credit by the government during payment of tax on output services. Yes or no? Input tax credit. Whatever tax I am paying when I buy things, tax department gives it to me in return when I pay tax when I sell things. ठीक है. McDonald's, when McDonald's had purchased its cheese and everything, it had paid GST because cheese supplier had included GST in cheese supplier's bill and given to McDonald's. McDonald's paid GST already. Now when McDonald's is giving you burger, it is taking GST from you, but some part of the burger has cheese and GST on cheese is already paid to the government. So you tell, I am giving you this pura burger ka GST here, you give me that cheese ka return. Because that cheese is already included in burger and I am giving you entire burger GST. Yes or no? It is like you buying cheese separately and buying a cheeseburger separately. That cheese is already there in the cheeseburger. So you tell government, I am giving you one full cheeseburger, you give me one extra cheese slice which I had given you earlier. Samjha? When McDonald's purchased cheese, McDonald's had purchased cheese slices and McDonald's had paid GST to the supplier. Supplier had remitted it to the government, but जेब से किसके गया? From whose pocket did it go? McDonald's. So when McDonald's is now paying the GST on entire burger, which also has cheese in it, and on that cheese McDonald's has already paid GST when it had purchased, then it will ask government, please return that to me, take this GST on entire burger. Yes or no? Simple. This is known as input tax credit. You get a credit for tax which you paid on your inputs. Input tax credit. You get a credit by the government on taxes which you have paid while purchasing inputs. Samjha? I'll give you another example. My friend has a business. He purchased a new laptop. So he paid GST on that laptop because Amazon gave him GST invoice. He paid GST on that laptop. Now using that laptop, he gives a lot of CA and consultancy and financial services. So when he bills his client, he includes GST also because he is providing a service. Then when he goes to the GST office to submit GST, he asks the government, sir, when I purchased the laptop, I had already given you some GST. Now using that laptop, I am giving services and on the whole services I am giving you GST. So please refund that GST earlier. That was my input. I need my input tax credit set off against output tax credit. So if burger, I just want to explain it one more time for clarity. We'll explain it. Okay? Cheese cost is 25 rupees. Cheese cost is 25 rupees. McDonald's goes to cheese supplier and buys cheese slice worth 25 rupees. GST charges 10%. 2.5 rupees given to the government. Who gave to the government? Ultimately, cheese supplier gave to the government. But whose pocket was burned? McDonald's. Because that cheese supplier would have written 25 plus 2.5 and given to McDonald's. McDonald's purchased cheese. Now this is McDonald's input. Now what is McDonald's ka output? Burger. That burger costs 200 rupees. McDonald's, and how much is the GST? 10%, let's say. So 20 rupees is the GST. How much does McDonald's charge from you? How much does McDonald's charge from you? McDonald's charges. Are you following this example? First of all, McDonald's has purchased one cheese slice worth 25. The cheese slice supplier paid GST to the government, but took that GST from the from McDonald's because McDonald's is the customer here. Okay? So McDonald's has paid 27.5 here, right? Now 200 ka burger it made, it is selling and it has its own profit and all. It is selling burger at 200. You see that you have been given a GST invoice of 220. Okay? This 20 rupees GST you will give to McDonald's. Yes, McDonald's will give to the government. Similarly, this 2.5 is already there with the government. Yes or no? Double counting ho raha hai because 2.5 is on cheese which is already included in burger and this 20 is on the burger. Burger includes cheese, but GST on cheese has already been paid. So you ask McDonald's, ki, take 20, but give me 2.5 credit. Samjha abhi? So I will pay only 17.5. Why? 2.5 already with you, sir. I will pay 17.5. How much is he getting? Government is getting full 20. Yes. How much is the value addition done here? 200, because 25 is already included in 200. 200 pe value addition, 200 with 10%. So if I pay 17.5 to government and government has already got 2.5, government total kitna mila government ko? 20 rupees. 20 rupees is nothing but 10% of 200. Total value added tax. Had government not given this input tax credit, had government not given, government said, no, we don't agree. You had to pay 20 rupees to the government. This would have been how much? 22.5. This is tax on tax. This is what GST tries to avoid. Input tax credit. So this credit is called as input tax credit. The tax which you have paid, already paid because it is from your pocket only, while purchasing inputs, setting off against tax which you have to pay while selling goods or while output. Input tax credit. समझा? Very clear, crystal clear. Input tax credit is very important. Yes or no? ठीक है. चलो. Do you know? Are you accessing these lectures on LevelUp portal online? Yes, you have a separate portal ID password you have to key in and you have to access these lectures. Yes or no? Similarly, there is a GST portal where you go, where you file your returns, where you tell government that this is my return, where you upload your bills to claim input tax credit. See, this input tax credit would be given by McDonald's only when it will give a bill of this 25 rupees. Yes or no? When you ask the credit for this 2.5 from the government will ask, show me the bill that you have purchased this cheese. Otherwise, anyone can come and claim. Yes or no? So, when McDonald's files its income tax return, 200 rupees ka burger, 20 rupees tax, minus 2.5, I am paying 17.5. ठीक है? पहले तो government asks, show me the bill for 200. You have not sold it for 250. You have sold for 200. Okay. Why are you claiming this? McDonald's says, sir, I have already paid it. That cheese supplier took it from me and he has paid it to you. McDonald's says, show me bill. You go to warranty and they ask you bill. So unless you have bill, you are not able to claim income tax credit. Hence formalization. Na? Because if cheese supplier had not given him invoice, McDonald's wouldn't have purchased cheese from that cheese supplier because McDonald's needs bill. Because McDonald's wants to claim input tax credit. If that cheese supplier did not give a bill to McDonald's, this would have been disallowed. Okay? So this all happens on the government portal, on the GST portal. Now this portal is known as GST network. Simple, short में GSTN. GST network, GSTN. So it would not be surprising for you to hear that GST network has a lot of problems. Lot of IT related problems. Server crashing down, website not loaded properly. Okay? Because every time returns have to be filed, lakhs and millions of people come online, file their returns. So it has to be very heavy. Yes or no? This is known as GST network. It is the interface, it is the back-end interface between the taxpayer and government. GST network. Would you believe me if I said that earlier GST network was privately owned? Just imagine, it was under the control of a private party. So earlier GST network ka shareholding was 49% government, center state both, and 51% private. Earlier, when it was introduced. Last year, 2 years ago, 100% government. थोड़ा late समझा उनको कि this is very crucial. So there are also jokes being made that all data is already given now to private person and then he has used it and then government has come in. All those are funny things. ठीक है? Now what I am about to tell you is something which is asked in UPSC interview, UPSC mains, UPSC prelims. Is something which comes in newspapers regularly. If you feel sleepy now, then please wash your face and come. Now what I am going to tell you, it will take 5 minutes but it is very important. ठीक है? ठीक है? Are you ready for it? Scenario 1. You are making क्या बनाओगे? चलो आज क्या बनाओगे? What are you making? You are making solar panels. Do you know solar panels? They are used in generation of solar electricity. ठीक है? You are making solar panels. You are making them in India. Agreed? Solar panels बना रहे हैं. You are making them in India. ठीक है? Let's say solar panels are made of photovoltaic cells. We have all learnt in science in our school level. ठीक है? So let's say one of the key inputs, one of the key raw materials for solar panels is glass. ठीक है? You need glass for the panel. Let's say one of them is glass. What is your input here? What is your input here? Glass. What is your output here? Solar panels. You are taking glass, you are making changes to it and you are making and other inputs also and you are giving it a solar panel. When you purchase glass, do you have to pay GST? Yes, you have to pay input tax. Yes or no? है कि नहीं input tax? Agreed? You make solar panel ready हो गया, very nice looking solar panel, ठीक है? Whom will you sell your solar panel to? To solar energy manufacturers, households हो या big, small scale to big scale. Let's say you are getting an order from Adani Green Energy Limited. They want to install solar panels across all their offices. So they have given you a supply order of 10,000 solar panels. ठीक है? You have to supply. It is a good thing for you. You are a solar panel. Your big order has come. It is your life's, your company's history's biggest order. Yes or no? When you sell solar panels to Adani, will you collect GST from Adani? Yes. Sale है, GST है. ठीक है? You would collect GST from Adani. For 2 minutes, get in the seat of solar panel purchaser, the one who is purchasing solar panels. Adani is purchasing solar panels. Second scenario. What options does Adani have to purchase solar panels? One, he can purchase from India, or one, he can purchase from outside India. Yes or no? Simple. This guy who is making solar panel, he can make his solar panel in India or import from China and rebrand and sell it in India. Yes or no? Many people do this. They just import from China, they rebrand and they sell. Many clothes we wear are like that only. Okay? There are two options now. One, we can import and one import the final solar panel, or one we can import only or we can make in India and we can sell the solar panel. Yes or no? ठीक है, चलो. This glass is imported only from a special country, let's say Germany. ठीक है? Are you following me? This glass we are purchasing from Germany. GST would be applicable at 18%, and solar panels we are selling it to Adani, which is fine, which is very good. ठीक है? Now, I am trying to reduce the complication. So let us, the example which I am about to give you is very, very, very complicated. Let us try again, because I don't want to burden you with all these things now. Already we have learnt a lot. Chal. What are customs? What are customs? What are customs? Simple example I will give, very straightforward. What are customs? Because here we are coming out of GST for a while, it will make things too complicated. What is customs? Tax on import. Okay? You are simple. You are solar panel manufacturer. You manufacture a solar panel. 1, 2, 3, 4 solar panel. For it, glass is required. Okay? Glass is required. Okay? Very good. You see that glass is not available in India. You are making solar panel. Glass you have to import from India. You go to Germany. Germany people says, yes, we supply your glass, whatever is required. Let's say import duty, custom duty. Now you will understand. Custom duty on glass is 20%. Which means what? If you are getting 100 rupees worth of glass from India, from Germany, you will have to pay 120 rupees on that. Okay? Will it raise your cost of production or not? It will raise, because 20 hai, tomorrow if it becomes 10, it will reduce. So your Indian made solar panel, but which has foreign glass, is ready. Second option I told you, you can purchase the ready-made solar panel and sell it. Even Adani can do the same thing. He can either buy Indian made solar panels which has costly glass, or he can also already purchase, or he can already import solar panels. Now the twist comes. When the twist comes is, so let's say Indian solar panel is now the cost as 1,20,000 rupees. Now why this is so costly? Because the glass is very costly, sir. Why glass is very costly? Because you have 20% import duty on it, sir. Yes or no? Okay. Now when Adani goes to Chinese websites, or when Adani goes to Germany, this company's website, he sees that Germany also makes solar panel directly. समझ में आ रहा है? Germany also makes solar panel directly, and the customs or the import duty on solar panels is 12%. What will happen? The price, let's say, is coming to 98,000. Is it better to make in India or import from outside? Import from outside. Yes or no? Why is this happening? Why is this happening? Because the tax on finished product, solar panel directly, the import duty on finished product, is more than this or less than this? Yes. The import duty on finished product is less than the import duty of raw material used in producing the finished product. Do you agree with this? So what I would think, I will directly buy solar panel 12% GR, import duty 98,000 I will pay, finished. Indian manufacturers are now struggling because they are purchasing some raw material which is taxed at a higher rate. This phenomena where so ideally it should not be, ideally it should be ulta. Glass should be taxed at 12% since it is a raw material, it should be taxed at a lower rate and your final product should be taxed at a higher rate. Yes or no? But since we want to promote use of solar energy and solar panel, we have discounted this at 12%. You import bindas, you will have to pay only 12% tax. But Indian manufacturers are now struggling because they are importing glass at 20%. They will stop manufacturing because their sale will not happen. Imports will increase, yes or no? This phenomena where import duty on, not GST, import duty on raw materials is more or less than finished goods, more than or less than. In raw material is more than import duty on finished goods. It should not be like this because this is discouraging make in India entirely. So raw material for some essential goods is costlier than the essential good itself. Are you getting this? Okay? So it is like ki nimbu pani, you are making lemon juice. Buying a lemon juice is cheaper than making one. Waisa ho gaya. So your lemons are costlier here. Okay? So, and this is why is this happening? Because of tax by government only. This is not pricing difference. So this phenomena where tax on inputs is more than tax on outputs is called as inverted duty structure. The duty structure has inverted now. This is ulta. Okay? And it is not good. It is not good. Hence it is known as inverted duty structure. Very, 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 very important. INVERTED. Inverted. DUTY. Duty. Structure. STRUCTURE. Inverted duty structure. Are you getting this? How would you explain inverted duty structure? Higher import duty on raw materials compared to the finished goods themselves. Usse acha so I will import only. Okay? So now go in Adani's seat and think. Adani will think, yaar, okay, make in India, Atmanirbhar Bharat is all good, but Indian products are costly. Why are Indian products costly? Because import duty on raw material is higher. Now tomorrow, if government changes this to 10%, this will reduce, let's say it goes to 96,000. Hai na? Why it reduced? Because now import duty on raw material is lesser than import duty on finished goods, which is the ideal structure. Ideal aise hi hota hai na? Because this glass is a component of this. So this should be taxed higher compared to raw material. But what we do is we tax raw material at a higher rate compared to the finished goods directly. So people will directly buy finished goods. Nobody will buy. So this is causing a lot of problem in manufacturing, and this is known as inverted duty structure. Samjha? ठीक है? This is known as inverted duty structure. I will ask this in Zoom session. What is inverted duty structure, and you have to explain it to me. ठीक है? There are a few residuary things which remain in in GST. See, this was not related to GST generally, but this is related to indirect taxes. This is related to customs. Yes or no? That is why, and the topic of today was indirect taxes. So I wanted to talk to you about customs, import duty and all of that. But first I thought I should tell you what is the main issue with our custom regime. So not always, but there are some things where this phenomena is happening. For example, take the case of medicines. We manufacture medicines in India, but if the actual raw material is costlier in terms of tax, not in terms of price, in terms of tax it is costlier, then we will buy other medicines from other countries. No? because their importing is easy. This is known as inverted duty structure. The duty structure is inverted. The tax on raw material is more than the tax on finished goods, but this should not happen. So if you want to encourage Make in India, then tax the import of finished solar panel, not the import of glass. That is the whole point about policy making. You have to think. So there are these anomalies exist in few sectors. In some kinds of aluminium, in some kinds of high grade steel, in tires, rubber tires, these anomalies existed. Then it were changed. So for example, importing a tire was cheaper than importing rubber and making a tire and selling it in India. So this was there last year. Anomaly was changed. So how to rectify this anomaly? Either you increase tax on import of solar panel or you reduce tax on import of glass. That is how. So if it is inverted, you dire you make it straight. Yes or no? So there are a lot of ancillary subjects or ancillary topics which are remaining. What all did we see today? What do you think? What all did we see today? We saw a lot of direct tax things. We saw minimum alternate tax. We saw alternate minimum tax. We saw tax profits, book profits. We saw faceless assessment, faceless appeal. We saw tax amnesty schemes. We saw the difference between surcharge and cess. Then we came to indirect taxation, where incidence is not shifted but burden can be shifted. Indirect taxes, we saw a lot of indirect taxes. One of them was customs. One of the major problem of custom is the problem of inverted duty structure. Okay, customs is a tax on imports. When you import something, you have to pay custom duty. Okay, but if you are importing something and that is cheaper than compared to importing its raw material and making something and selling in India, then manufacturing in India is discouraged. And hence, when manufacturing in India is discouraged, what happens is your industrial growth does not happen, and that is why you discourage or you avoid the problem. You should avoid the problem of inverted duty structure. See, there are millions of things on which tax rates have to be set. So there will be a point where some of the raw material will be costlier than the finished goods. Yes or no? Because you don't know now, glass as a raw material used in hundreds of things. So in some cases it will be more, some cases it will be less. So they have to rectify this individually. One case at a time. And government always tries to do that, right? Then what do you have? Then what did we see? What else did we see? We saw GST, entire GST regime. There are 5 acts: IGST, CGST, UTGST, SGST, and compensation to state. 101 Constitution Amendment Act was brought in. Article 279A, major article, GST Council. What is the composition? 33, 31, 2. 1/3, 2/3, 3/4, half. Yes or no? GST compensation to states is given at the rate of what percent? 14%. That rate is called as revenue neutral rate, RNR, revenue neutral rate. Okay? That will help fulfill the tax loss which will be faced by manufacturing states. Initially, it is for a period of 5 years ending in 21-22. Then it might be still increased. Who will decide this? GST Council. Who is the chairperson? Finance Minister. Then what else did we see? We saw how GST solves a lot of problems. GST solves the problem of tax on tax. Not tax on tax, but cascading effect of taxes. Okay? Cascading effect of taxes. Yes or no? GST solves the problem of cascading effect of taxes. GST solves the problem of double taxation. Does GST give input tax credit? Yes. It gives input tax credit from center to excise, from state to state, and central service to central excise also. We saw 4 things which are not there under GST. 1, petroleum products. 2, electricity. 3, real estate. 4, alcohol for human consumption. They are not there in GST. They are exempted from GST. Okay? Is milk exempted from GST? No. Milk is taxed at 0%. Okay? How many rates are there? 5, 0, 5, 12, 18, 28. Okay? Finance Commission has recommended merging of 12 and 18% tax. 28% is the sin goods rate, or you can say luxury goods rate, and is cess charged on 28%? Yes. Which cess? Compensation cess. Remember, it is a cess, so it will be only used for one purpose, which is to give compensation to states. Okay. Then next, what did we see? What else did we see? GST. We saw cross empowerment. Cross empowerment is sharing of assessees or sharing of the workload between center and state. What is cross empowerment? How much? If people who are earning less than 1.5 crores per annum, they will be 90% would go to states, 10% would go to center, and more than that 50-50 center state respectively. Very good. I hope you enjoyed GST series, indirect tax series. There are a few things which we will cover, and then we will see some fiscal matters, and then we will jump on to monetary policy. Keep revising. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. These are issues which keep on coming in newspapers, hence I focus more on issues and less on factual information, because you will find that in books and they are very easy to come across, but these issues you need to understand. Remember, our syllabus speaks about issues relating to everything, or so many issues, in our syllabus the word issues is mentioned. Okay? So I hope it was a good learning experience for you. I'll save this and we'll share it with you. I'll see you in the next lecture.